everyone. This is another episode of Open Book. I am Billy Price, co-founder of BILLY Footwear, and today, we have such an amazing group of guests on screen today. Their story. There's no way I can possibly give their story justice, so they really have to explain it themselves. But on screen with us today, chiming in from the UK, we have Amy, we have Paul, and their two beautiful kids, both Scarlett and Beatrix. Welcome, you guys.
Hello.
So as I said, you guys, your story is absolutely incredible. There's so much emotion. I really can't do it justice for me trying to explain it. So I was hoping you can kind of walk us through your story, and then ultimately, I guess, how our shoes landed on your radar. So Amy, take it away.
Yeah. So we found out when I was about 7-8 weeks pregnant that we were expecting twins, which was absolutely amazing. I had to tell Paul over the phone that we were expecting twins because he wasn't able to make the scan.
I was in work.
So he thought I was joking at first when I told him on the phone. And then we had, at first it was quite a straightforward pregnancy, and then when we got to sort of 17 weeks, we went for a scan, and the girls were different sizes. So then we had to go to sort of a hospital that was about 3 hours away in Birmingham to go and get further scans. And initially with Scarlett, they said that we'd have to do a termination because they said she had restrictive growth syndrome. So we'd have to do a termination, but we wanted to wait a week. So we waited a week, and then
came home for a week and just waited, thinking that obviously, every time I put my head on Amy's bump, I could hear these two wiggling around and thinking that one of them wouldn't be there much longer, which was an awful week. Then we travelled back down to Birmingham again, and we had another scan, and the doctor that was scanning said, I want to get someone else in for another look. So that's when Professor Kilby came in, and he had a look, and he decided actually it's not restricted twin growth or restricted growth, it's actually twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, which basically meant that Beatrix was getting too much fluid. In fact, she had so much fluid and oxygen and blood that her heart was actually a valve, was passing fluid, and Scarlett just had nothing at all. She was the bag around her was literally sucked up against her. So we had a laser operation, which changed the flow of the placenta, and what was it, within a week?
Yeah.
Within a week, Scarlett started to sort of get a bit more flow about her.
And it was hard at first because he sort of said there was sort of a 40, I think it was about 40% chance they both survive. And they said, obviously, we'll keep checking for heartbeats. So we were just praying the whole time that they would have heartbeats for both of them. And then afterwards, we found out with Scarlett that she had sort of substantial bowel issues, like ischemia, basically, a loss of oxygen to her bowel, so part of her bowel was dead. We found out as well she had some brain damage, and we found out she had kidney damage, and basically from the MRI they then said she would be a palliative care baby, and that was from about 21 weeks, wasn't it? Yeah. So then we were preparing for a loss and a birth at the same time throughout the pregnancy, which was exceptionally hard because you're just wanting to hear the heartbeat, but then it was really sad because we were knowing we were going to lose Scarlett. But then we got to sort of 30 weeks and 5 days, and then they sort of saw on the scan that she was starting to have kidney function. So then they did basically a reversal where they made her active treatment, so whereby she would get treatment afterwards rather than going to a hospice. So then from there, we then had them at 31 weeks exactly. So 2 days after, we then had them. Scarlett at 3 days old had to go to another hospital, so they were separated at day 3 for Scarlett to go and have a bowel op, and she had 30 centimetres of her bowel removed.
She's only, what, 7 days old? 7 days old. So that was really quite scary. Amy basically stayed in Alderhay, which is near Liverpool, and I stayed in Preston, which is where Beatrix was.
Yeah.
We separated, but Amy travelled every day to come see Beatrix. Then she would go back and stay with Scarlett. Everyone kept saying, we don't know how you do it, and to be honest, we did it because there are kids. And Amy said to me quite a few times, I just can't leave a day without seeing at least both of them. So you travelled.
Because with Scarlett, she was 940 grams when she was born, and she dropped to 840 grams. So she was a tiny, tiny baby.
I could actually fit her in the palm of my hand.
So she was tiny.
I could hold her in my hand.
So she spent, so she had a bowel lock to take 30 centimetres away, had 2 sort of almost catheters created, stomas, and then we then had another operation sort of 2 months later with those stomas, during which time with the brain, we had been told she'd been in a vegetative state, sort of in the pregnancy. So we kept sort of getting told, oh, it's reflex when she was squashing her hands. But when we got her home, we just did loads of therapy with her. We reached out to a lot of the Facebook groups because she has periventricular leukomalacia and porencephaly, which are 2 brain conditions. So basically, it's like having a stroke. So part of her brain hasn't had the oxygen to it. So we were learning basically to get those neurons firing. So we started doing lots of therapy with her at home, lots of physio, and just generally over time, she's just been amazing and just defied so much, because we were told she'd be blind, and she can see quite happily. We were told she wouldn't be able to move her hands, her feet, she wouldn't be able to walk, she wouldn't be able to do anything, she'd just lie there. But sort of over the time, she's been rolling, she's learnt to crawl, she's generally just a very happy little girl, and she just loves to learn. All her therapists sort of say she's just so intelligent and really clever, but she just wants to be involved. She wants to keep up with her sister.
Her sister's got pretty much nothing wrong with her at all. Apart from just being grumpy little. She's about 15, nearly 16 months. Yet she's going through a terrible 2s already. And Scarlett really watches her a lot. She's learning off her. They talk to each other when they're in their cots at night sometimes. You can hear them babbling at each other. And I think that's what's helped bring her on.
She loves just being with her sister. And she kind of looks at her sister, and you can see her little brain going, I'm going to learn to do that. I'm going to do that. So like she's sort of now, she's starting to crawl. She's rolling over quite happily. And she's learning to pick things up and pack objects together, and like in terms of like your footwear, we found it amazing. It was actually my mum that found out about you guys, because it was all so new to me. And when we got the splints, we wanted her to have something really kind of special and something cool, and your designs are just really, really funky, and just really lovely, really colourful. We were kind of drawn to your sites, and we just love your boots, because everywhere we go, everyone comments on them. When we put like a picture of them on Facebook, when she got her splints done at sort of Christmas Eve, and we put a picture, and everyone's like, where are these shoes from? They're amazing. Where are they from? And she just loves, she loves being in the shoes. She's in them now at the moment. So she's just got
look at
that. She's rocking the Billies.
Oh, I love it. The Arthur shoes, I think. Wow, you guys, wow. I don't even know where to start right now. So the girls are 16 months old, about?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's so much that we can unpack right now with your story. First off, I'm so happy your mom reached out, because it was incredible, because she went to a lot of detail about your story, and it was so incredibly moving. And to be able to share that type of not only just the story, but the emotion that was attached to it. I'm sure it's just scratching the surface on just the trial that you guys went through. I mean, I can't even begin to fathom what receiving some of this news could have felt like. I mean, it's such a high, it's like the highest of highs, the lowest of lows, and then not really knowing, and then somehow moving through it.
Yeah, we were really lucky because my mum was with us the whole journey. We called ourselves the Three Musketeers. So she came to, because I'd had 2 miscarriages before we had the twins and I had the pregnancy. So my mum was kind of there for the journey. So she was in Liverpool with me with Scarlett, and she came to the scans and stuff as well.
She was with us both times, went to Birmingham.
Yeah, so.
And it was good to have someone there that would ask, because we were so much in the emotion, she would be a little bit out of it and she would ask the questions that we wanted to ask. But because of the emotion, weren't thinking about, which was really, really good.
Yeah.
She's absolutely amazing. She really is. And, you know, she's helped us so much. And even now during this lockdown, she's completely, you know, isolating, so that we've still got her to help look after these 2, you know, every now and again. We go there after hydrotherapy, you know, just so we've got somewhere to just put the kids down and they can play with nanny and grandas, and we can just have a sandwich and not have to stress too much about you.
That support bubble, really.
Yeah, it's a support bubble that's really important to us.
Yeah, so we're really lucky.
You know, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of families listening in, and I mean, your story is, everyone has a story. I mean, everyone's story is unique. But golly, I mean, and I don't even know if you can put this into words, but for families that may be struggling out there and like getting new, I mean, they could be pregnant and they're not getting the news that they were expecting, but then like the course of action has to change. I mean, is there anything that, from what you've experienced, is there anything that you can possibly like say to a family that might be even remotely close to the situation that you're in or were in?
I think sometimes, I mean, firstly, I think it's important to carry on bonding with your bump.
Definitely.
Because it's so hard in those days when you get that bad news. You don't sometimes feel like you want to bond with your bump. You feel like you want to disassociate yourself from the situation.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to treasure that time. Also, in terms of like sort of dealing with it, I suppose it's good to have those people in your life that you can offload to, those people you can chat to, or just making notes as well of things you want to ask the doctors and things. So like sometimes if there was things I wanted to ask, I'd have like a tab I'd write down during the day, or the week, and then I'd take them and then talk it through. I think obviously every pregnancy is so different, and bad news and things. So it's really difficult to say, you know, do this, but I think you've just got to, I think you take each week at a time. So like with us, we found out something bad each week. So like we had 1 week and we found out the bowel was ischemic. The next week we found out the kidneys weren't working. The next week we found out the brain. But rather than thinking, oh my gosh, every week, you just have to go into it and think, right, this is a new week, this is where we're at. But treasuring that time as well, because with Scarlett, the majority of the pregnancy, she was palliative care. So I was reaching out to the twin community. So I reached out to the lost twin community, to twins who lost a sibling, and how you then helped, you know, the other sibling, because I was looking for Beatrix as well, because she'd know she was a twin. So what I could do, how I could create memories and things. So I think that's important as well. It's looking at how you build your memories. So for us, we had a book. We had Guess How Much I Love You, which we used to read every night to the girls. And we had like copies of that because that was something we thought we wanted to do as a family. So it's making little things like that, I think.
I mean, that was good for me because I'd read the book to the bump and feel them wiggling around, and it's good because then they hear my voice then. So, you know, I looked after Beatrix a lot more, and I have a really good bond with Bea, whereas with Scar, I didn't have much of a bond with it because I wasn't with her as much. because of older Hay. But now that we're together back as a family unit, you know, we're all bonding together. They can remember my voice from me talking to them when they're in the womb. But I think that the main thing for me as a dad would be just to keep hope, because 3 times we were told in the pregnancy that we would have to terminate Scarlett in the pregnancy. 3 times they said that to us. And 3 times we decided, no, we're not going to do it. If she's going to go, she'll go naturally. You know, we're not going to do it, you know, outside of that. Because there was also a danger to Beatrix as well. And yeah, I mean, yeah, she's got her problems, you know, and we know that she's going to have, you know, issues when she's older, and her learning's a lot slower than what Beatrix's is. But I don't care. She's here now. She's our
Scarlett, you know,
yeah.
and she's her own person. I think it's preparing yourself, obviously, that, you know, if there are issues in the pregnancy, then there might be issues postnatally as well, like concerns, health concerns. But it's asking the right questions and connecting with the communities as well. You know, connecting with people on Facebook who've been through similar situations. Yeah.
There's a lot of support groups out there. It's just trying to find the right one for you. You might go into a support group and find that they're not quite, you know, on the same page as you are. Don't worry, don't panic. Look for another one, because there will be another one out there that's more in key with your ideals and things.
What we do as well is I do an Instagram, so it's called Dottie and Bee's Adventures. Basically, Scarlett's known as Dottie because when she was born, like I say, she was only 940 grams. So we used to call her our little Dot. So she's Dottie and Beatrix is Bee. So what I do on that Instagram is I kind of show our day-to-day and what we do and all the messy play and things as well. And I find I connect with a lot of families also going through who have additional needs children, or even just have twins, and it shows that kind of day-to-day. And you're connecting with people who are early on in the journey, whether they've just had the babies and are in NICU or, you know, special care unit. And it's giving them hope and talking to them and saying, look, you know, it's a roller coaster. Like parenthood is anyway, really. You have your good moments and your bad moments, but you get through it. You know, it's hard. Like you say, I mean, we are so blessed to have our Scarlett. Because like I say, 2 days was literally the space. We got told on the Wednesday, and then we went into labour on the Friday. I thought I was just having normal Braxton Hicks, and I went in and I was dilating, ready to give birth. So
it was a bit of a surprise.
Well, you got so two things that really come to mind right now. One is it never ever ceases to amaze me how fragile the human body is, and yet how strong it is. It's absolutely unbelievable how, like, our fragility, but also just the human strength and the way to like overcome, and the way to, you know, for a body that has, you know, almost literally 2 feet in the grave, like somehow comes back, and it's just it absolutely is incredible. And the second part is, you know, so you mentioned this earlier, people will comment that there's no way I could do what you're doing. I couldn't, if I were faced that same situation, I couldn't do what you're doing. And I mean, you just don't know. I mean, when you're in the situation, you're going to fight everything, everything in your human power to really get through that. So I always find that kind of question or like comment, I know it's kind of, they're trying to relate and be friendly or just like admiring or like some inspiration or stuff like that. But it's a matter of, you know, you just don't know. You just don't know until you're in that situation, and just, I just really admire everything that you guys have done. I mean, you're in it. I mean, you're going to fight for your family unit no matter what it takes, but it's just so awesome to see you guys' courage, and just, I don't know, it really warms my heart.
I think the thing is as well is you learn so much. You know, like I'm a nurse and I work with young babies. So I knew about the brain and the, you know, about everything, but I always thought, right, if I see an MRI scan, right, that's definitely going to happen. But actually, like you were saying, the body's so amazing, and the connections you can make in that pregnancy to then bring her through. And I think a lot of what we did, like bonding with her, really helped build her and made her into what everyone calls a little fighter. So yeah, and just generally, like you say, it's just the body's just amazing.
Yeah.
Really.
You know, I mean, I love you guys so much. I love your stories so much. I know that we can talk for on and on and on, but you know, before I sign us off, I just want to give you one more opportunity to share. I mean, whatever's on your heart, but I really want to thank you for your time. Thank you for your openness to be able to share. I mean, I know that your story it's such a powerful one, and I know it's going to add so much value to so many people that are listening right now, hearing it. But I want to give you the mic one more time to just, if there's something new on your heart, or maybe we could talk about something that we've already covered, but the mic is yours.
Yeah. I think what I've learned is how amazing, you know, everyone is out there, really. I think lockdown makes you appreciate, and all the COVID makes you appreciate everything so much more. You know, some of the amazing stories we see on your site, you know, some amazing parents, you know, and just how children are just so resilient and just so amazing, really, you know, because as adults we see all kind of the obstacles and we think, oh no, and all the facts, but as a child you don't see all that, you just kind of keep going, don't you? Yeah. You know, they've got so much resilience, really, as well. But I think generally that's what I'd say. I think before I had children and before I had a child with additional needs, I probably wasn't as really aware of, you know, the stories out there, the miracles out there. You know, I just thought, you know what, this is going to happen. You know, they said she's palliative, it's going to happen. But it's about, like Paul was saying, having hope, really, and just keeping hope. Yeah. So I would say that to any sort of parents out there. Keep hope, you know, and just treasure those close to you, but don't do it alone either. You know, if you're going through it, talk to people, because otherwise it just eats you up as well. So that's pretty much it. I don't know about you.
No, I think that's it. Hope's the main thing. Just keep it going.
Yeah.
You'll have your down days when the whole, you know, the black clouds come over and you think it's gonna all go completely wrong, but you just gotta know in your heart that it doesn't matter what happens, it's gonna happen.
And just know that you've got very funky footwear out there as well in Billy's. you got the very nice trendy footwear, because again, that's the other thing with the additional needs. I didn't see, you know, I kept thinking, as you think additional needs, you just think really clunky shoes and, you know, everything really additional, you know. So actually it was a new world, and seeing like your site with all the lovely little, you know, all designs and stuff. You know, it was just amazing. So
that's so awesome, and I'm so happy that you know, our shoes brought our two worlds together. I mean, when we launched the brand, we wanted to make something that had the function and the fashion side of it. So to kind of level that playing field for everyone to be able to enjoy the same thing. And it's just so great that was the instrument that brought our two worlds together. So
yeah. Oh no, thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, you guys, again, thank you so much for your time today. I mean, wow. It's just, I just really appreciate you guys being open to share. So
yeah, no,
thank you.
It's just been amazing. Like I say, it's been an amazing journey, and it's all, I think you've just got to think, just aim for the sky, and just, you know, all the therapy and everything, you just take it week by week and just get there. But you know, I'm always happy to help people as well. If anyone ever wants to Instagram me or whatnot, I'm always here as well. So.
Well, one thing you did touch on that I think is really important to remember, you know, a child, when they're born, they don't know what they don't have, and they don't know what they do have, but they do know that they're going to do everything they can to get better using what they have available to them. So it's just really neat to be able to really focusing on, because I know when I broke my neck, that was a real struggle. All I could think about was what I had lost. That's all I could focus on. My brain went to a really dark place. And what changed was the ability to say, you know what, let's let that go and let's focus on what we do have. So if we look through the eyes of a child as they're growing, that's all they're going to focus on. They're going to focus on what they have in front of them, and that hope, what the future looks like. They're going to be driving forward to do whatever they can with what they have. So,
and I think that's a really important message as well, is maybe sometimes as adults, is to look through our children's eyes as well.
Definitely, yeah.
You know, because we can get so hung up on them, you know, they haven't got this, they haven't got that. It's like, how can we, what have they, you know, look at what they have got, you know, and maximize those opportunities. So yeah.
Well, you guys, thank you again. Everyone else that was chiming in, this was another episode of Open Book. I really appreciate you guys chiming in, and we'll have another one next week. So until then, take care.
Oh, bye. Bye.